Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
What's good, y'all? This your boy A1 King. I'm with Aura Ali in the building. Thank you, brother. I'm here at Canavita. Big shout out to Katrina. We're an amazing gallery out here. I hope you guys get to see this out here in Astoria, Queens, Steinway, doing it big, doing it fly, bro. Blessings. Big shout out to Queens, y'all. Big shout out to Queens. And you know, I just want to let you know real quick. I'm here to ask amazing questions to Aura Ali. And first of all, I just want you to introduce yourself and let people know who you are.
Thanks for having me on your segment, A. I appreciate you showing love to the artists, getting to sit down with the artists and talk to the artists about what they do and why they do it. My name is Aura Ali. People know me as Aura. On IG, you can follow me as Sensei Aura. I've been in the arts for a little over 2 to 3 decades. Been creating, styling, designing, writing for 3 decades. Now I'm at a point where I decided I will exhibit some of the things that I've created outside of fashion and outside of photography for the world to be able to dissect and conclude what trauma, what pain looks like in a beautiful form.
And honestly, you could keep that mic. And honestly, what inspired you to just become an amazing artist? Like, that's what I really want to know.
My inspiration for creating, I'll be honest, has been trauma.
Wow.
This piece that you see here, this piece is part 2 out of a 3-part series, externalizing trauma that I've experienced a little over 2.5 years ago. So for me, when I first decided I was going to be creative, it was designing. Wow. That was unbeknownst to me. I was being subconsciously programmed to sew and stitch when I was about 8-9 years old by my mom, right? Coloring, drawing, and creating art pieces, that was something that was only really done in school. But my mom also saw that was something that I enjoyed doing, so it became something that I would do during my leisure time. So now I'm growing up with these 2 forms of artistic expression, which is sewing, knitting, and painting and drawing, which is being exacerbated by my mom. But also I'm being slightly tormented by my mom.
Wow. Right? There's a love and hate relationship.
Correct. So in this same space and place where I'm being taught how to express myself creatively, I'm also being slightly oppressed by the same person that's teaching me these tools to use to create and express myself. So as an adult, I found myself feeling some sense of hopelessness when I was assaulted about 2.5 years ago by NYPD, and that's what inspired me to create these 2.5-3 pieces that I've created within the past 2 years. This being part 2 out of the 3-part series.
Part 2, and honestly, this piece is amazing. Honestly, when I first saw it, it took me some time to just get my eyes off of it. It's a really attractive piece. The colors that you put into this display is amazing. And you know, when I asked you what was your process, you literally told me all the hard work that you did to go, you know, to make this art piece happen. So I want the crowd to know for themselves your process of making an art piece like this.
The process is exhausting. Yeah. The process is extremely exhausting. The process stems from the reminding of the pain. So I first put a coat on this to give it some color. Then I covered the whole thing in tape, and every time I felt depressed or on the verge of depression, where I didn't feel safe going outside, I didn't feel safe being outside, I didn't feel safe being outside, and I didn't feel safe telling people my story. I didn't feel safe talking about it, because every time I talked about it, it was a reminder of a moment where I didn't have control over my own autonomy. You know what I mean? Like where somebody else was dictating my fate.
And it's crazy how you say that, because, you know, in this journey, I've been working a lot in bringing awareness on emotional intelligence, because a lot of people manipulate our people, or let's say people that have been going through traumas in a sense where they provoke them to do certain things, especially through the environments that they're in, the circumstances that they are. You're really pushing people towards the edge. And sometimes when we're triggered, people manipulate those triggers, to happen for us for their own gang, and for us to look like, the angry person, the ignorant person, but in reality we're just bursting in emotions. And this burst of emotion, honestly, is amazing. I'm telling you, like, it really gives me a window towards so much potential.
While I was creating this, right? So 2022, April 2022, Easter weekend, I was assaulted by NYPD. I spent Easter weekend in county jail and going back and forth to court in the hospital, right? While I was creating this, I was also going to therapy. So I'm sitting down with a therapist twice a week, and I was going to therapy because my attorneys recommended that I go sit down and talk to somebody while we litigate this circumstance and situation that was been forced upon me. So I'm going through all of the stages of grief, right? Where I'm in denial, where I'm not acknowledging, where you come to terms, where you do acknowledge, and understanding and realizing that your pain and your trauma, that's what this corporation known as America has taught us to do to one another, is to manipulate each other's pain and trauma, or cause that pain and trauma, so that then you can have some sort of advantage over that person. Yeah. And when that person can't articulate their emotions or their feelings, or they can't understand or navigate their emotions, then they won't be able to express their emotions. And if you express your emotions in a way that may be volatile or explosive, it may create a consequence. So at the time where I was also creating this, I found myself being arrested again. But this time is what they call assault. So in this space and place, I'm being provoked as an artist. I'm being provoked by another person who, in conversation, in a disagreement, invited me to his dick. Man to man, I understood that to be emotional abuse. This person is trying to emasculate me in public in front of other people and insult me as a man. So in return, my reaction was to slap this person. At the same time, I was being diagnosed with PTSD. I was creating this. So I was going through a fluster of emotions that I'm being provoked externally to respond or react to something that is triggering to me. The world is not going to see that I was triggered. The world is going to see that I assaulted someone when I slapped this person as a result of being triggered.
They're not going to see what you've gone through.
That's a fact.
They're not going to see what built up.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Can I ask you, what mediums did you use?
This is mostly acrylic. I use some light oil, and I use a sheen for final touch.
Okay.
This was anywhere what I so this, when I first started drawing, when I first started coloring, for me it was about tools. Having the best tools meant you have the best opportunity to create the best product. So for me, it was having access to all of the colors in the crayon box.
Yeah.
And at first you would start off with 8 colors, then you'll have 12 colors, then you'll have 16. And for me, it was to aspire to be the kid in the class that had the 32 set.
Yeah, you was rich, right, with the 32 set, Like, everybody asking you for, can I hold this color, man?
So if you had the set that had the sharpener and it had all the colors in it, you was the person that they knew could create to the highest extent. So for me, when I created this, I wanted to use every color that spoke to me. Every color that I've used in fashion, every color that I've used on a day-to-day, every color that I've used in photography, in a different way to express myself. I wanted to use every color on this, because this was going to be the piece that I said, this was my color vomit. This was my emotional distress. every time I felt anguish, every time I felt depressed, every time I felt hopeless, I grabbed 2 or 3 of these colors at the same time, and I attacked the canvas. And I attacked the canvas for anywhere between 6 to 8 months. And I just kept peeling the tape, attacking the canvas, peeling the tape, attacking the canvas.
Did this feel better than the slap in the face that you
That's
gave
a
that
fact.
dude?
That's I'm glad. That's a great question.
You know, I have to ask that because, you know, a lot of people choose the other side and believe that that's the answer. But when this
I didn't end up in jail.
Look at where you ended up.
Every time I slapped this canvas, I didn't end up getting arrested for it. Every time I slapped this canvas, I didn't end up getting assaulted or accosted by NYPD, right? For me, it was all okay, because you have to get it out. In therapy, some therapists like to focus on coping mechanisms, but in our community, coping mechanisms only lead to more destruction.
Especially the ones that surround us.
That's the point that I'm making.
Can I ask real quick, what are your influential artists? Like who influenced you the most out here? You know, you could go from back in the day or
So I would start with Michelle Basquiat, right? Andy Warhol, Keith Haring. These were artists that were, in my generation, these were the artists that were talked about before being an artist became a thing, right? These are the artists that were talked about, Babito. These are artists that came from my neighborhood, that were drawing, that were shooting Polaroids, that came from the Lower East Side, that came from New York, that were creating on levels that the hip-hop community found themselves speaking to, or you saw some sort of art form in the fashion industry that was also being exploited in the hip-hop industry. So it's like peeling back the layers of music, fashion, and then finding the art. I kind of was groomed by the art before I got a chance to hear the music. I was kind of groomed by the art before I had a chance to experiment with the fashion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes 1000% sense, man. And you know, it kind of grew you. You know, it you know, especially with and I'm trying to, you know, with our parents being, you know, thinking that they know how to love, or they come, you know, and thinking that the way that they love is the right way to love. You know, to have art as a parent is such a great, healthy, and healing process, because nobody believes in you more than the result of your artwork. You know, nobody pushes you as much as the artwork that you do. You know, and nobody supports you as much as your artwork. You know, and it shows that it understands you. You know, it is you. It is you. It's in the mirror. You know,
it's definitely a more in-depth reflection. This is an out loud reflection.
Can you zoom in to the piece a little bit as you speak on this?
This is an out loud reflection to emotions, right? Feeling like I'm constantly being watched by the thing that it is that I'm doing on a day-to-day. Feeling like my view of the world is only a window wide. Feeling untamed and out of control with emotions that have to be confined to one particular thing or one particular space. Like, I'm a teacher during the day. I didn't go to school to be a teacher. I became a teacher because I was becoming a parent. So as I started teaching, I've been teaching now 12 years, because that's how old my son is. So as I've been teaching, as long as my son has been born, I've learned different ways to even parent. So I've learned how to be a better parent than my own parent by doing something that allowed me to speak to children. Because all I'm doing is speaking to children as an adult from the childlike perspective of myself. So when you explain to children that this is, a child knows that a person that created this is an adult. Between a child and an adult, that seems like a lot. But when the child understands there's still a child and an adult who can create like this, or can create on any level, creativity is a child speaking out loud. That's all creativity is. So if you as an adult can create out loud in a fashion that inspires other people, you've tapped into the childlike version of yourself that allows you to expand that child version into the form of an adult, right?
We start to raise ourselves, huh?
The childlike version of you starts to raise the adult version of you. Yes? Because that childlike version of you remembers what it's like to be curious, to be creative, to be free of obligations and responsibilities, to be impervious to the opinions of the outside world. That childlike version of you is still aware of that, and as an adult who has freedoms to do certain things and go certain places and be a certain way, you still now have control and you have tools to execute these things you have in your head as an adult.
Emotional intelligence.
Fact. To sum that up, that's what that is. That's what that is. Yeah, it's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Hey man, I'm gonna end it with the last question.
Talk to me.
All right, where do you see your artwork in the future?
I see my artwork. I want my artwork to be in doctors' offices. I want my artwork to be used as a tool or a vessel for cognitive thinking. As my entire career as an adult, as an artist, as a creator, as a parent, I'm just now starting to understand what art therapy actually is. So I ultimately would like for my art to end up in spaces and places that will inspire people to just be curious, like airports, right? If you see a piece of this magnitude in the airport, it's gonna make you curious about who this person is and where this person went through or where this person was when they created it. If you saw this in a doctor's office, whether that be a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a pediatrician, if you saw this piece of work in these types of settings, the people that would be inspired would be children. The people that would be inspired would be explorers. So for me, I want my art to expound to the spaces and places where people can be inspired to explore, be inspired to be curious, and then be inspired to create.
Hey, yo, Aura Ali, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, bro. Hey, I appreciate you, man. This is an amazing place.
I appreciate you,
Big
bro.
Shout out to Canavita.
Big shout out to Canavita. Big shout out to all of you for watching. Big shout out to all of you that are creative. To all the people that are watching, what I want to say to you directly is be mindful of the childlike version in yourself so that that version of you can be mindful of the childlike version in other people. And collectively, the childlike version of yourself, the childlike version of other people can come together and be in some sort of harmony where we can create environments where we all can feel safe and comfortable to either make money, to either expound on inspiration or expound on the creativity. Be the best version of you.
We are Starchasers.